Hey guys, Randy here from 1110's Racecraft. Today we have a E90 M3 in here for a common rod bearing replacement. These are pretty frequent jobs, and this is something you should consider doing if you have a car and you're not quite sure what the history is, or if you purchased it from new and you've never done this. This car particularly is a 2011, and you can kind of see there's already quite a bit of wear on mostly on the top bearings that happens. And this motor has about 120,000 K, so it's not a very, that's kilometers, not a very high mileage motor, but you can definitely see the issue with the factory rod bearings, which have arguably too tight of a tolerance for clearance. So there are several manufacturers out there that make coated rod bearing replacements. Calico is one of them, which is what BE uses. VAC also uses the Calico coated bearing, and there's other manufacturers as well. There's you can get WPC coated factory rod bearings, or you can even get them from a company called ACL, who has been making bearings for many years for a lot of race engines. And so you have a choice when you put these bearings back in. You could use the factory rod bolts, which are a stretch style. It requires a bit more work to do, or you can just get a set of ARP rod bolts, or from Carrillo or other brands as well. And so we want to put those in. Now, what makes some of these modern almost race motors unique, if you come in here, you can actually take a look that these caps are actually they're actually cracked, so they don't have a flat surface. That way, when you put them back together, all these little ridges made up to the corresponding connecting rod, it makes for a much stronger joint when you put together. So it's very important that these things all go back in a certain sequence. I have this all laid out specifically just to show you on the video. And also, what's pretty common on these is the motor mounts tend to fail. They are a liquid filled mount, so it's not a very expensive mount to replace. It's only about $100 or so retail. And this is the old one, because you kind of show you should factor or budget these to be replaced when you do the rod bearing job. So this is kind of like so, you know, in order to do the job, it does take the better part of a day. The subframe has to be dropped, you know, the steering mechanism, everything. It's also recommended you do an alignment when everything's buttoned back up, because certain things will be slightly off. But that's kind of, you know, engine looks pretty clean underneath there, and it's a messy job. You're constantly dealing with dripping oil throughout the procedure. But yeah, that's about it. It's something that you can probably budget about $3,000. That's typical cost for this kind of a job. And you know, there's several brands, like I was saying, that you can go with. Some brands are harder to get than others. It all depends on availability and the time of the season to see which supplier had flash sales. I mean, they may be sold out for a month or two after the sale, or to try and capture that sale yourself through, you know, 1110s. We can obviously supply all parts here. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, send us an email or a DM or anything else. Thanks for following.